So glad all of you are here today. Are you excited about New Year's? Anybody excited about New Year's? Only like four of us. Okay, me and Wanda and Willie. Okay, we're we're excited about New Year's. The rest of y'all can, I don't know. You can just leave, I guess. I don't know. I love New Year's. It's like, to me, it's the perfect follow-up to Christmas. All right, you have a good time with family. You give a few gifts and things, and then it's like you get the biggest present of all: a fresh wrapped year with no mistakes in it yet. Okay, that's what I love. I just love New Year's. I do, because I'm a futurist. Okay, I'm a future guy. I like looking at the future and thinking about the future. I'm an optimist. You know what an optimist is, right? It's the opposite of a pessimist. I'm always thinking everything's coming up okay. All right, I'm always thinking it's going to be good. Where things are about to turn around. That's just me. My granddaddy was like that. He was just always assuming it's going to be good, and that's me. I'm a future guy. So I love New Year's. And probably, for those of you who are in Clovis, New Mexico at Servant's Heart Chapel, probably I should have Darrell Underwood preach this message. You guys don't know Darrell, but Darrell works in process improvement for the military. That's his job. He goes in and he'll come into a department and he'll clean up their process and set goals and metrics, and that's what he does. And so he's like a goal-setting ninja. I'm just Darrell. Okay, and so that's I don't do that, but I do love setting goals, and so I want to talk to you a little bit about that this year. First of all, I want to say that probably some of you should have a funeral for 2014. Okay, you should have a yesterday funeral, all right? Yesterday ended last night, John Maxwell says. And maybe it was a great year. How many 2014 was a great year? Can I see any hands? Are there any hands? A couple of you had a really good year in 2014. Great, I'm glad. How many of you 2014 was rough? It was a tough year. It was a bad year for all of you, almost. Wow. It was a tough year. But you know what? Whether it was a good year or whether it was a bad year, it's wrapping up. And sometimes the best thing you can do about yesterday, whether it's full of success or failure, is leave it and be done and move on. You need to have a yesterday funeral. That's what Tony Evans says. He said, some of you need to have a yesterday funeral. Yesterday's victories will not carry you through today, and neither should yesterday's defeats dominate tomorrow. That is true. That is true. There comes a moment where you got to move on. And that's what I love about New Year's. We're going to move on. Some things went well, some things didn't go well, but we're moving forward. All right? We're moving forward because we're God's people, and we don't have to stand here looking back all the time and regretting and brokenhearted. No, we're moving forward. We're going forward. And so I want to talk to you about New Year's resolutions. Anybody, I want you to guess with me, what are the top 10 New Year's resolutions? Let's see how many we can get. Of 2014, I did some research. What are the top 10 New Year's resolutions that were made in 2014? Losing weight. That was number one. Yes, it was. Losing weight was number one. What was anybody? Any other ideas? Quit drinking, okay. I don't know if quit smoking was on there, so quit smoking is there. All right. What else? Give me some ideas. What else was exercise? Yep, that was on there. What else? Staying fit and healthy is the way they've put it on this list, but yeah. What else?
Be faithful and come to church every Sunday.
Okay, it's not on the list of the top 10, but that's a great one. I like that one. I'm in favor of that one. What else? It's like Family Feud, isn't it? Yeah. I'm Steve Harvey today. All right. What else? Any other ideas? Making money. Yes, there's money goals. I want to make this much. I'm going to make that much. What else? Any other ideas? New car? No, it's not on there. Here we go. You ready? Top 10. I'll start at number 10 and work my way up. Number 10, spend more time with family. Okay. Number 9, fall in love. A woman made that list. Is that what Number 8, help others accomplish their dreams. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Number 7, quit smoking. Number 6, learn something exciting. I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know what that is. What is something exciting? A new language or something maybe. I don't know. Stay fit and healthy. Number 4, enjoy life to the fullest. That's kind of vague, isn't it? Enjoy life. What exactly does that mean? Enjoy life to the fullest. Number 3, spend less, save more. So there you go. Some financial goals. Number 2 was get organized. I found that one interesting. Get organized. I didn't see, nobody thought of that one apparently. You guys are all already organized. So number 1 was lose weight. And so now let me give you some stats on New Year's resolutions. Are you ready? Here's the percentage of people who usually make New Year's resolutions. 45% of Americans usually make New Year's resolutions. If you're taking notes, it's on your handout this morning. It's 45% of people usually make New Year's resolutions. 17% of people rarely or infrequently make New Year's resolutions. And the percentage of people who absolutely never make New Year's resolutions is 38%. 38% of people, almost 4 out of 10, never make New Year's resolutions. That's just not what they do. I think it was one of you guys actually emailed me last year why they don't make New Year's. They emailed a column why they don't make New Year's resolutions. That's cool. All right. No, you're not less of a person because you don't. All right. But we'll talk about that as we go along. Percentage of people who are successful in achieving their resolution. Somebody give me a guess. 2. Okay, well, you're a little pessimistic there. It's a little higher than that. Wow, 2%. 8% of people are really successful in achieving their New Year's resolutions. It starts off at like 75% in January, and by June, it's dropped to 40%. And so it just starts off, like this. It's a curve that goes down all year long. People who have infrequent success, in other words, they do pretty well with it. Sometimes they achieve their goals, not always, but sometimes, is 49%. Now that's an interesting statistic. 49% of people sometimes get their goals. In other words, they aimed at some of it. They didn't all get it, but they got some of it. 49%. That's not too bad. I think I fall in that category right there. People who never succeed and fail on their resolutions every year. 24%. 24% is what they say. That's what this research indicated. Now, I'll give you this just for free. People who explicitly, on a certain set of metrics, here's a set of goals, things that are desirable to accomplish. People that explicitly make resolutions are 10 times more likely to achieve that set of goals than people who never make resolutions in that category. The people who never make any resolutions in that category are 10 times less likely to accomplish that set of goals as people who resolve to do it. I find that one interesting personally to me. This week I was on Facebook and I I talked about goal setting. I have an app, a to-do list app that I keep, and I'm changing to-do list apps because I wasn't really happy with the one I was using. I'm changing apps that help me track what I'm doing and what kind of actions I need to take. And so I put that on there, and I had a person a godly lady that I love and respect, who put on there, just ditch the to-do list app, love your family, and just do whatever God wants you to do that day. I respect that. I'm okay with that. But is planning, it made me think about this question. Is it biblical? Is it biblical to plan, to look ahead and say, okay, I'm going to look, it's one thing to say, I'm going to look ahead just at this one day. I'm going to get up in the morning, Lord, what do you have for me today? Okay, I understand that. I get that. But is it biblical to get up on 2015 and say, Lord, what do you have for me for 2015? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one day, people are okay with planning one day, but are they okay with planning a year? Is it a biblical thing to look that far ahead? And there might be some verses in the Scripture that might indicate that maybe it's not, or maybe people feel like it's not a good idea. Like that's presumption. That's like running ahead of God or getting. I'm not sure whether. Let's look at some verses. All right, let's let the Bible speak for itself. Here we go. Is planning biblical? First of all, God plans. God plans. I just picked one verse. I could have picked a ton of other ones. The Lord Almighty has sworn, as surely as I have planned it, so it will be, and as I have purposed, so it will stand. God plans. He looks ahead and says, I'm going to do this. And then he does it. Now, he never fails on his New Year's resolutions. In fact, his New Year's resolutions are all-time resolutions. He decided a long time ago what he would do, and he's doing it because he always is faithful. Second thing, I'm just running quickly through these. Paul planned. Look at Romans 1:13. I do not want you to be unaware, brothers, that I planned many times to come to you. Now, his plans were frustrated, or his plans were stopped sometimes by circumstances. He was arrested and put in jail. That'll mess your plans up, right? It'll change your plans at least. But by the way, he accomplished much even while he was incarcerated for his faith, because he did plan. Paul was a type A, aggressive, choleric personality. He was a type A sort of guy, and he always had a plan. The Bible recommends planning wisely. Planning wisely. Proverbs 15:22, plans fail for lack of counsel or lack of advice, but with many advisors, they succeed. So he's saying, here's how to make your plan succeed. You got to ask advice. You got to look around and not just pick your own plans and make your own goals, but ask around. Find other wise people and ask them. Don't ask your broke brother-in-law how to save your money. Go ask wise people how to save. Ask people who are old and have money, and ask them how to save. All right, planning wisely. Proverbs 14:8. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways. Proverbs 24:27. Finish your outdoor work and get your fields ready, and after that, build your house. Well, there's planning, isn't it? You're looking ahead. You're saying long term, I need to make sure that I've got my fields in and my crops are all planted and everything's ready and going good in my work. And after that, I'm going to come work on my house and things like that. You ever seen people get it backwards? They want to get a car right now, go into debt. They want to go get all their stuff in their house right now at rent quick. They want to get all that. What are they doing? They're not getting their field ready first and then working on their house. You got to make sure you've got the money coming in, and that's when you build your house. Does that make sense? So he's talking about finish your work first. He's talking about planning. Jesus spoke of planning when you're following him. Now, I found this one to be interesting. Jesus said, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't he first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete it? You're going to build something, you got to make sure you got the money in the bank or the income's coming in, right? You got to make sure. You got to plan. In the same way, he said, suppose a king is about to go to war with another king. Won't he first sit down and consider if his 10,000 person army can meet the 20,000 person army that's coming to fight him? Sure, everybody thinks and plans that way, right? And then Jesus turns it around and applies it and says, in the same way, you got to plan if you're going to follow me, because you got to plan to give up everything. You got to plan to say, Jesus is Lord of everything in my life. I'm done controlling it myself. I give up everything to follow Jesus. I don't have control of anything in my life. Wow. You got to plan wisely to follow Jesus. Now, let's look, if planning is a biblical thing, and I think that's my argument, I think it is, all right? I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. But what are some principles for planning? If you were going to take on some plans for this year, 2015, and you were going to look forward and say, okay, I'm going to look at 2015 and say, what is the kind of person I want to be on January 1st, 2016? What kind of habits do I want to develop? What kind of goals do I want to have achieved? What kind of character do I want to have built? How do I want my life to look differently 365 days from now? And then start planning something now that can get you to that place. If you were going to do that and try to be wise and plan wisely, how would you do it? Okay, I want to make this, I'm hoping this will be one of the most practical messages that I've preached in a long time. Okay, I want to put this right down where you can just take it home and you can say, okay, now I know just exactly how to plan some goals for this year. Okay, so here we go. Bible planning principles. Number one, start with God. Start with God. Proverbs 16:9, in his heart a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. In his heart, a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. This is where almost every single, I did a lot of research over the last few weeks, almost every single place that talks about goals and planning, they all miss this one. And this is what makes planning that I'm talking about uniquely Christian. Because they all talk about pretty much the same set of things. I want you to do this and do that and do the other. I want you to plan this way and plan that way. They all plan that. They all use the same kind of basic set of steps. Something similar to what I'm going to share with you. But they forget this one. And so this is the most important step in planning if you are going to plan as a Christian. If you're going to plan as a follower of Jesus, this is where it's at. Understand that you are under the lordship of someone who has a plan also. And God's plan trumps your plan if they come into conflict. Okay, look at James chapter 4. Now listen, you who say, tomorrow or today we will go into this city or that city and we'll spend a year there and carry on business and make money. And he says, why? You don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, now look at this. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. How many of you have ever heard somebody say, maybe around church or somebody that's a believer in Christ, you've heard somebody say, Lord willing, we'll do this. You ever heard that? Okay, sometimes you might hear somebody say it, Lord willing, this is what we're going to plan to do. What does that mean? That's what they're doing. That's where this phrase comes from. Have you ever heard that phrase, Lord willing, this is going to happen? This is where that phrase comes from right there. Now, James is not saying that literally the phrase, every time you talk about the future, if the Lord is willing, has to come out of your mouth. He's not saying that that's a phrase that you should talk about, you should say to your wife, you're getting your keys and you say, honey, Lord willing, I'm going to go to the grocery store. Lord willing, I'll be back in an hour. You don't have to always have that phrase come out of your mouth. That's not what he's saying. The point that he's making is this. If you understand that everything in your life, even your survival for the next 24 hours, is dependent on the goodness and the pleasure of Almighty God, everything about your life, you can't make it through this day without Him, then you'd be a fool to just arbitrarily plan your life. Well, whatever I want's what's going to happen. No, not necessarily. You can't know that for sure. There may be things that come in and pow, your plans get totally changed in the matter of 24 hours. You know what I'm talking about. We've had it happen, right? You can't always plan the wrecks. You can't always plan the death of a family member. You can't always plan an unexpected sickness. You can't plan those things. And so when you're starting with your planning, you got to start with God. Understand this: God rules and you plan. Okay? God rules and you plan, and His plan trumps anything you thought you had. By the way, it doesn't mean you can't plan. It just means that in all your plans, there's one that's bigger. You recognize a higher plan. Proverbs 16:3, commit to the Lord whatever you do and your plans will succeed. Beautiful verse. Love that. Henry Blackaby said this. He said, stop asking God to bless what you're doing and start doing what God is blessing. That's good. That's real good. Instead of saying, I'm going to do this, and God, I hope you'll bless me. Instead, God, what is it you want me to do? And go do that, because that's already blessed. That part is, whatever God is already blessing, go do that, and things will turn out okay. It'll turn out differently. Number 2, pick your passion. Pick your passion. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. Look at Philippians 3:13 and 14. Brothers, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, look at Paul's focus. One thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. What's he saying? He's focused, he's zoned in, he's found his passion. This is the one thing I'm doing. Every energy I have, every thought I think, every resource I have is poured toward one goal. Paul's passion, and by the way, he got it. He finished it. He said, I'm going to become like Jesus and I'm going to go to heaven, and that's what I want more than anything else. And you know what? He made it. He accomplished it. The ultimate goal of all of the universe, making it to heaven when this life is done, continuing on with real life after this life is done. He made it. He made it. Why? Because he had a passion for it. And so what I would tell you is, if you don't care deeply about something, don't bother planning. This is not, like, making goals is not just a thing that says, well, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. I mean, it'd be nice. Well, there's a lot of things that would be nice. You know why I haven't stayed in shape? Because I haven't. No, I'm not saying I'm overweight. I'm just saying I haven't stayed in shape. I found it out yesterday when I played basketball for like 3 hours. Whew. Oh, I'm sore this morning, right? You know why I haven't stayed really in shape? Because I didn't care deeply about it.
Because you did what?
I didn't care deeply about it. That's why. I didn't care that deeply. Now, maybe I should start, but so far I really haven't cared that deeply about it. And I'm starting to feel a few aches and pains and cracks and crackles, and maybe I should care more about that. I don't know.
You're too young for that.
Too young for that? I know. I know I'm too young for that. I should, that's part of what's worrying me. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? You can't just decide, oh, this would be nice. No, it has to be something you want. I mean, you really want to accomplish. This is why a lot of people fail in drawing closer to God. This is why people fail a lot of times in reading the Scripture or praying daily or seeking God. Why they fail is because they don't want it. I mean, really want it. It would be nice, but they want something else. They really want to do their own thing. They really want to do this. They really want to do that. And they want God as an it would be nice sidebar. And that's not the way to do it. You'll never draw close to God if it would be nice to get to know Him a little better. You'll never do it. It has to be a driving passion of your life. And if it's not, the good news is you can make it one. You can choose to want God. You can choose to desire Him. You can pray and say, God, you got to plant a desire in me. And then you say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to set alarms on my phone, and I'm going to get up, and I'm going to lay my Bible open, and I know a guy, don't know him personally, I know of a couple of guys, who literally, they turn themselves in such a way that when they get out of bed in the morning, they land on their knees before they land on their feet. They turn around and they pull their legs up and they slide off the bed in such a way that they hit their knees before they hit their feet. And he said, it's just a symbol for me every morning that my life has to be in submission to God today. Because he said, I'm a doer. I'm a type A. I'm a goer. And if my feet hit the floor first, I'm gone. They said, if my knees hit the floor first, it reminds me that there are some things more important than what I can do. Some things only God can do. Pick your passion, something you care deeply about. What do you care deeply about? What do you care deeply about?
Pleasing God.
Family, pleasing God? Yeah. What do you care deeply about? You need to find something and then set a goal. If you care deeply about it, set a goal on it. That'd be good. Number 3, make it clear. Make it clear. I think this is probably the most practical goal-setting thing I'm going to tell you all day. You ready? Make it clear. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2 says this, "The Lord replied, write down the revelation. Make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it." What was Habakkuk saying? Now, I know he's not talking about setting goals. Okay, I know that. But here's what he was saying. He was saying, God gave me a message. He gave me something he wanted, and it's too important to get lost. He's saying it is so important, you can't just hold this one in your head. You got to write it down. It matters so much. God said something, and it matters so much that it's got to be put on paper. So let's take that over and let's apply it to our lives for a minute, okay? I want to tell you to make your goals clear. Here's one of the biggest ways that goals fail. One of the biggest ways that goals fail is they are much too vague, and they aren't specific, they aren't clear, they aren't measurable, they're not smart. For instance, give me some examples of really vague goals. Would you do that? Give me some examples. Get out of debt. Okay, all right, that's vague enough. Well, how much debt, when, by, how are we going to do it? What else? Eat better. Yes, eat better. That's a great vague goal. What is better? Is that like barbecue every day? Because that sounds better to me. I don't know. Eat better. What? That's vague. That's vague. How much of what kind of food is better to you? What's better to you? What else?
Living life to the fullest.
Live life to the fullest. Yeah, well, that's vague, isn't it? Thank you. You remembered. All right. Live life to the fullest. What? By doing what? How? Where? With who? For how long? What? What else?
Get a divorce.
I'm sorry? Get a divorce. That's pretty clear, actually. What? Yeah, showstopper. Yeah, all right. What was there was another one. Oh yeah, lose weight. Lose weight. How much? By when? For what? With who? You're just going to say lose weight. Well, that doesn't say anything. That doesn't. It's vague. It doesn't. No. Make it clear. Are you ready? Here we go. SMART goals. You can remember this. An SMART. Are my goals specific? Do you know exactly what you're going to accomplish? So, and not lose weight, but lose 15 pounds. Okay, that's clear. Now you know exactly what you're saying. Okay. Measurable. How will you know if you succeed? Lose 15 pounds? Well, that's measurable. That's good. That's good. Attainable. Is it really doable? Relevant. Is this something you really want? That's back to the last point, passion. And T is time-bound. Time-bound. Deadlines and start dates. Okay. So if you were to take lose weight and put that into a more specific, a SMART format, you might say, I want to lose 15 pounds. That's specific. Measurable, that's also measurable. We could even say, take it up a notch by saying, by eating on the Weight Watchers plan. That's measurable, right? Attainable, is that doable? Yeah, that's 15 pounds. You can do that, right? Relevant, do you really want it? I can't tell you that. For me, I'm not planning on losing 15 pounds this year. That's me. All right. T is time-bound, starting on January 1st by the 29th of February. I don't know, I just made that up off the top of my head, okay? But you understand the point. You're setting yourself goals and deadlines and metrics. It's very, very clear. Eric, give me an eat better goal. Since you gave me that one a while ago, give me an eat better goal.
Cut out dessert, less sugar, no white food, no white flour, no white bread, protein balanced vegetables, fruits.
Stop eating. In other words, no more happiness. All right, no more joy. Away with you. All right, that's kind of what the. If you taste good, stop eating it. That's right. All right. I'm joking. Yeah, in other words, you're specifically, and he had a lot of nons there, but I heard a couple of like more fruits and vegetables. Okay, 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. Oh, not vegetables, please. It's 3 servings of fruits and vegetables every day for, you see what I'm saying? Specific, measurable, it's realistic, it's attainable. Okay, those smart goals. The next thing is write them down. Write them down. I'm going to give you a study. In 1979, they took a group of Harvard MBAs, a group of guys guys and girls that were graduating with Harvard MBA degrees. 1979, they surveyed them and they asked them, have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplish them? Okay, in other words, have you set specific, like SMART type goals? Have you set clear written goals for your future, and have you made a plan to accomplish them? 10 years later, they contacted the same group of people. They brought them in and they asked them, have you accomplished those goals? Actually, I take it back. What they did is they interviewed them again and they compared them by income. Now, I know that's only one measure, okay? It's only one measure and it's not the one I choose to govern my life by. But they compared their incomes. The 13% of the class who had goals, let's see, 3% had written goals and plans. 3% had written goals and plans. 13% had goals, but they were not clear in writing, and 84% of them didn't have specific goals. Okay, 3% had goals clear in writing, 13% had goals but didn't have them written down, 84% had no goals. The 13% of the class 10 years later who had goals but did not write them down were earning twice as much money as the 84% who did not have goals. Okay, the 13% who had goals but they weren't very clear. The 3% who had written goals were earning, on average, 10 times as much as the other 97% of the class combined. Now that blew me away. I read that stat this week. You've got to be kidding. Now, I know that's a really shallow way to measure your life. And I know that your net worth is not your self-worth. My point is this, that there was a power in somebody sitting down and saying, I'm going to get really clear about what it is I want to accomplish. Do you think that in the things that really matter, not just your income level, but the things that really matter, it would make any difference if you got really clear about what it is that God wanted you to do? It would make any difference if you got really clear about saying, God, I think you want me to grow in this area, and I think you wanted me to develop this habit. I think you want me to stop in this area. If you got really crystal clear and made a plan, yeah, I think it would. I think it would, because I think it's a way that God wired you up. Writing is a psychosomatic activity. It's a neurological activity. It's a psychosomatic. It involves both the mind and the body. Okay? And so it's something that physically writing something down literally changes the way you think about it. Every success coach in the world will tell you that they have people write down things if they want to accomplish them. Make them write it. Make them write it. Make them write it. Dan Jensen, before the Olympic skater, speed skater and gold medalist, before he won in the one Olympics, he fell. And he lost in the Olympics. He was expected to possibly win the gold medal. He fell. And it changed his mindset so much that he became negative. And his coach told him, he said, I want you to write the words, I love the 10,000 meter race. I want you to write it every day, all the time, before you go to bed and when you get up, and write it in the steam on the bathroom mirror all the time. I want you to write it. The next time he won. He won the gold medal. Now, what am I saying? I'm saying that physically writing something down makes a difference in your life. It really literally makes a difference. So what if you said, I am going to write down the 5 areas that I want God to change me this year? Makes a difference. By the way, I write mine down and I put them on my prayer list. That's where I write my goals down. I write them on my prayer list because I want to be reminded of them and pray over them and ask God's help with them. Because again, start with God, right? All right, here we go. Well, I'll give you one more thing. A Kaiser Permanente study found that those who wrote down their food intake lost twice as much weight as those who did not. There you go, guys. On average, those who wrote down and recorded their food intake lost twice as much weight as those who did not. Why? Writing. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. Number four. Ready? Here we go. Share your goals. Share your goals. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says this: two are better than one because they have a good return for their work. For if one of them falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. So what a pity, someone who falls and never has anybody to help them up. Sometimes one of the biggest things that can help you accomplish and get to the next level is the accountability of knowing that someone is going to be there and someone's going to ask. You're doing it with someone. Do the studies. Workout partners dramatically increase the likelihood that you'll reach your workout goals. Dramatically. A while back, I set a goal that I wanted to get up at a certain time of day and have prayer time. And I had a partner that I asked to do that with me. And so I would meet that guy and meet him early in the morning for times of prayer. So I started getting up and I started doing it. And you know what? I found it way easier. Now, it wasn't easy. It wasn't just totally easy, because sometimes you wind up staying up later than you thought or whatever. I did for days. I kept that schedule. You know when I messed up? You know when I quit? His work schedule changed, and he wasn't able to do it and meet at that time. And so guess what? My schedule changed too. I went back to the old get up time. I went back to the old rise and have prayer time, and it changed my schedule. Why? Because sharing your goals makes a difference. There was a woman named Anna Jones that had $23,600 worth of debt. She was heavily in debt, credit card debt. She made a New Year's resolution to work her way out of debt. She was a shopaholic. She would shop and spend, and she started a blog called "And Then We Saved," and she chronicled all of her progress and all of her messed up journey out of debt publicly on a blog. And lots of other people kind of became inspired by that, and they found, oh, this one's trying to get out of debt. And before long, she had thousands of people following along, watching her journey. This became a thing after this. After she did this, by the way, she paid off in a year and a half. She paid off $23,000, and became a thrifty person. Her blog was called "And Then We Saved." It started a trend, and it's happened numbers of times with many, many different people. People chronicling their weight loss publicly. What is it? It's sharing. Right? It's saying, I want you to know how I'm doing. If you keep it to yourself because of shame or because of fear or because, well, I might not do it, and if I don't do it, then I don't want to be embarrassed because I don't want to tell anybody. No. Make yourself as open and transparent as possible, and it adds motivation. It doesn't suck motivation out of you. It boosts you with motivation to accomplish something. So let's bring that back over to the spiritual side of things for a minute. If God says, I want you to become this kind of person, and you look at your life and you say, I'm not that person. I haven't grown in that area. I'm a failure in that area. This is a habit that I can't break, a sinful thing that it's just got a grip on me and I can't seem to shake it. Rather than hiding it, bring it out, make a clear plan, and share it. Share it with somebody. It breaks, it's just like a power boost. It'll help break the power of it. It just does. Trust me. Been there, done that. Number 5, think habits. Think habits. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 18 and 19. When he's talking about a new king of Israel. When a new king of Israel takes the throne of his kingdom, he is to write for himself on a scroll a copy of this law. Okay, you thought it was hard to read the Bible, to read the whole Bible. In the Old Testament, when a king became the king, he had to handwrite. This is very fascinating, isn't it? Had to handwrite his own copy of the law of God. Now, in those days, it was only the first 5 books, okay, and the first 5 books of the Old Testament. But he had to handwrite a copy of the first 5 books of the Old Testament. You think that made any difference in his life? Yeah. And then he had to read from his copy. Look at it. Write for himself on a scroll a copy of this law taken from that of the priests who are Levites. It is to be with him, and he is to read it all the days of his life, so he may learn to revere the Lord God, his God, and follow carefully all the words of this law and these decrees. Anybody want to handwrite a copy of the first 5 books of the Old Testament this year? Is that your goal? Anybody? Maybe not. But I would just tell you, notice the power of written things, and notice one more thing. The power of daily. The power of daily. John Maxwell says this. He says, you will never change your life until you do change something you do daily. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. Everybody wants, I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this great goal. There's 2 kinds of goals. 2 kinds of goals. One is outcome-based. Okay, lose 50 pounds. That's an outcome, right? The other kind of goal is a habit-based goal. Habit-based goal. Nothing wrong with the goal of losing 50 pounds, and nothing wrong with outcome-based goals. But it's almost legendary, isn't it? If you've ever read, if you know the studies, it's almost legendary that people, when they hit the outcome, if they didn't build a habit with it, they go right back to where they were. Right? If the goal is pay off debt, you're going to be like the lady that I worked with that in college, when I was working my way through college. We worked together all the time and driving forklifts, and she would tell me about what she was doing with her money. She paid off $20,000 worth of credit card debt. They cashed out her husband's IRA, paid off $20,000 worth of debt, and ran it $20,000 worth right back in. Pow! Just like that. They paid off $20,000 worth of credit card debt and ran right back on $20,000 worth of credit card debt. Why? Because she hit the goal, but she didn't change a habit. Nothing changed in the way she behaved. They just got rid of debt. And so, in the same way, don't think so much about the goal that you're shooting at as you think a routine, a groove. The goal is, let me just tell you this. Okay, the Bible, and really following Jesus altogether, is really more about rhythms of grace and holiness than it is about hitting some mark that is ultimate and you never come down from again. For instance, let's say I want to control my anger. And so I'm going to say, I promise never ever, my resolution is to never have to apologize. I'm never going to lose my temper again. I want to have the perfect temperament at all times. What if instead of taking it as that kind of goal, what if you said, every day I will, in prayer, in the morning, yield my emotions to God that day. And every day, if I lose my temper, I will immediately apologize. Now we've hit a habit, right? Now we've hit a habit, and guess what happens when you immediately apologize? Before long, you catch yourself just before you do it, right? Because you grow in grace. You grow in self-control because you're working a habit. What about, let's see. It's less about, I will live a life where I never complain. I'm never going to complain again. I resolve to never complain again. What about this instead? I will take 5 minutes at every meal and remember and think about my blessings. Right? Instead of, I'm going to hit this goal of never complaining, how about a habit of always being thankful? Right? Because thanksgiving and complaining don't live well in the same environment. They don't. One of them will kill the other one. And so you build, think habits. Think, what kind of habits, godly, holy habits can I form? All right, I got to keep moving or I'm going to run out of time. Here we go. Number 6, think broadly, but limit your goals. Think broadly, but limit your goals. Okay, here's 6 areas you might choose to have goals in. Spirituality, what kind of character? Are there habits of reading the Scripture and having time with the Lord that you want to build? Health. Relationships, business and finance, leisure, community. Like, how am I going to give back to the community? How am I going to serve? What kind of community things am I going to be involved in? By the way, there's a source there. S.J. Scott wrote a helpful little book called Smart Goals Made Simple. And I would encourage you to read that. It's helpful if you want to keep going and learn more of this. But I will tell you this, if you pick 6 areas, and that's just to help you think more broadly rather than just lose weight. That's the only thing I can think of. It's to think more broadly than that. But you do have to limit it because you can't set 20 goals and reach them all. You're not gonna be that good. You're not going to be able to focus on that much stuff. You can't carry that many new habits all at once. So think broadly, but you're going to have to limit and bring it in. And the last one is this. Ready? Remind, track, remind, track. Remind, track, remind, track. If you want to know about this, see the whole book of Deuteronomy. Okay, the whole book of Deuteronomy it's one big speech given by Moses where he's about to die. He's growing old, and he gives this huge speech to Israel, and he says over and over and over again, remember, 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 do not forget, do not forget, do not forget. Over and over and over again. It's almost like he wanted us to remember and do not forget. So, what am I saying? Here's what I'm saying. If you don't set an alarm on your phone or set a trigger in your life, I don't think you have a goal. It's just, let's lose more weight. I'm going to lose some weight. That's not a goal. That's not a goal. Set yourself an alarm, set yourself a reminder, set yourself a trigger. I will do this when I get up. I will do this when I go to bed. I will do this at mealtime. I will do this when this alarm goes off on my phone. You see what I'm saying? Set yourself triggers. What are the triggers that are going to remind you so you can build a rhythm, a routine? I have an alarm that gets me up in the morning. I have an alarm that goes off a half hour before I'm supposed to go to bed. I have an alarm. Why? Because I want to get myself in a routine to where I can expect and I get in a groove and I say, Lord, I want to accomplish everything that you have for me. You know why I do that? Let me tell you why. Because I'm not a naturally disciplined person. I'm not. And I had people tell me People tell me, oh, you're just one of those people that just lives by lists and never... no, I'm really not. I promise. Oh, you're just one of those people that never has trouble with it. You just make yourself do anything. I promise you I'm not. In fact, I tell you the truth. The other day, I thought I would just get on YouTube for a minute. And this one thing, nobody gets on YouTube for a minute, okay? An hour later, I was like, I'm an idiot. What am I doing? I don't even want to watch what I'm watching. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's not what I really want. It's not what I value. It was just the path of least resistance. It was just the path of easy. What am I saying? I'm saying you gotta set yourself reminders and track it and know where you're at, because if you don't, nothing good happens. Nothing good happens. Nothing good happens automatically. It doesn't. Nothing positive. Progress does not happen. We don't grow. John Maxwell says we don't grow automatically, we die automatically. You got to feed yourself so that you'll grow, but dying, that happens automatic. You don't have to do anything. Anthony Burgess was 40 years old when he learned he only had 1 year to live. He had a tumor that would kill him within a year. He knew he had a battle on his hands, and he was completely broke at the time, and his wife's name was Lynn. He did not want her to be a penniless widow. He had never been a professional novelist, but he knew that he could write. He knew that he had the potential to write and write well. So he decided that the best way he could provide for his wife after his death would be to write something where there were continuing royalties. So he put a piece of paper into a typewriter and he began writing. He had no certainty that he would ever be published, but he couldn't really think of anything else that he could do with his physical condition. He said later, quote, "It was January of 1960, and according to the prognosis, I had a winter, a summer, and a spring, a winter, a spring, and a summer to live through, and then I would die with the falling of the leaves." In the course of that time, Burgess wrote very energetically. In the year before the year was out, he finished 5.5 novels, which, by the way, is an enormous output if you're a writer. But he didn't die. His cancer went into remission, and then it disappeared altogether. And in his long and full life as a novelist, he wrote 70 books. But here's the thing. Would he have ever started if somebody wouldn't have told him you only have a year to live? Maybe not. You might have never started. What do you need to get you started? What would it take to make you say, I will? By the grace of God, by the energy that He gives me, I will. What would it take to do that? What if you imagined that this was the last year of your life? And all the other ones, you look back and you say, I've got regrets from those years, but I'm leaving them behind. I'm going to live this year like it's the last one I'll ever live. What would you start? What would you do? How would you live differently? And don't say you'd go blow it all and spend all your money and go into $100,000 of debt. If you do that, you're just a fool, okay? But what would it be different if you said, this is it for me? I'm going to live this year like it's the last year of my life. If you knew that you were leaving and going to eternity after this year, you'd do some things differently, wouldn't you? You'd live with a different mindset, with a different intensity. You'd live more focused on God and family and heaven, and you'd focus a lot here because you want to become the person, not just make some money or whatever. What would you do if you only had a year to live? Go write those down. Make it specific. And let's live a year and see what, by God's grace, we can accomplish, how we can grow by January 1, 2016. God bless you. Let's bow our heads together for prayer.